Hello, and welcome to the presentation of the 2022 Garden Trends Report. I am Katie Dubow. I'm the president of Garden Media Group. Garden Media Group is a public relations firm that specializes in the green industry, in our industry. We've been around for over 30 years. We were started by my mother, Susie McCoy, and I took over last year. We serve some of the top and leading companies in the industry, and of course we produce the Garden Trends Report. This year is our 21st year in producing the report, and it was probably one of the most fun to do because last year was so wild and crazy and so incredibly unpredictable that it was extremely fun to put together a report that is so positive, so optimistic, so incredibly forward thinking and looking that I think you're going to like it. So without further ado, let me please present the 2022 Garden Trends Report from Crisis to Innovation. We are experiencing an economic boom like no other. We have $2 trillion more in our pockets than we did in 2020. We're paying down our credit card loans, our balance sheet's in better shape, and we are starting to spend. The consumer is back and ready to go. In fact, Bank of America's credit card data showed a surge in year-over-year spending of 67%. And the National Retail Federation, they anticipate retail sales to grow at least 10.5%, surpassing their initial estimates to $4.44 trillion. We've got interest in our category and people looking to spend their money. I don't see gardening slowing down anytime soon. And in fact, 2022 may be the strongest year since 1984. This year, our trends are called Crisis to Innovation. But when we think of innovation, I don't want you to be confused about inventions. This is not the revolution of the 2000s or the 2008s or the 1990s or every time in the past we've seen a recession. Not about technology. It's not about data. It's not about systems. This new revolution will be personal. The innovation is driven by individuals seeking to overcome stagnation in their lives and through personal transformation and growth, achieve happiness and innovate. In this personal innovation, people really felt the great reset of 2021. That was the theme of our Trends Report last year. People taking stock of their lives, taking a moment to pause and assess where they are and make some changes. And we're coming into an era now of personal freedom. In 2022, many will take the leap that they might not have had the courage or freedom to make otherwise. And 2022 will be the year we innovate. So now I'd like to present the 8 trends that we have for you for 2022. And our first trend is called the Creator Class. COVID caused an incredibly difficult time for many. We were in the middle of economic upheaval, a financial crisis, and established businesses were put to the test. And sometimes chaos causes retreat, but not always. Disney, Airbnb, Microsoft, Uber, Instagram, have you ever heard of them? All of those companies were formed during a recession, during a period of chaos. And that's just to name a few. There were thousands of companies that were extremely creative that were formed during these low periods. When times go well, companies stick to the rules. But when times are hectic and chaotic, chaos creates opportunity, it changes the rules, and more importantly, it switches who's in the lead. Maybe it was Amazon, but could it be you in 2022? So enter this new creator class. They're innovators in business, and they're people who are shaping their futures as individuals, separate from their corporate identities. So while we were stuck at home, we discovered we could both make some money, these were the micro business founders, and get entertained. These were the micro business shoppers. We both played a big role in developing this new creator class. People were dissatisfied. LinkedIn found that in a survey they did over the pandemic, 2/3 of people either left their jobs this year for a passion project or they're thinking about it. People were not happy in their current careers, and they were just waiting for something to tell them it was time to start. And you saw it in Etsy, the king of the micro business. They had their biggest year yet, and it continues to be a place for creators to reinvent themselves. Instagram is developing new in-app shopping tools to foster this creator class. It's building on behavior that they're already seeing in their platform around small businesses, small creators, and micro businesses, these influencers doing direct sales. This is a trend that is not going anywhere anytime soon. And one of the biggest reasons is because micro businesses allow us to shop our values. We're seeing a rise in this ethics-driven spending, especially with Generation Z and millennial shoppers. A study found that 53% of Gen Z and 49% of millennial shoppers want to cut back on their Amazon shopping. And all generations feel guilty about shopping there. They would prefer to shop local. They would prefer to shop your business. And plant businesses took charge. They popped up in the most unusual spaces over the pandemic, from old police kiosks to coffee shops. And they made us feel better about shopping local. So what can you do? You can host local topias in your own community and partner, whether in person or online, with micro businesses in your community. One great example of a plant company doing this already is Lita's Jungle. She brings into her small shop local artisans who make bags, coffee mugs, pottery, coffee, baked goods. And she hosts these weekend shop-alongs where everyone comes to the store and they can shop multiple brands who are all local, of course, including her own plant products as well. And leverage the collective social media reach of these micro businesses. Often the business owner is also a micro influencer. Whether they have 1,000 or 10,000 followers, these will likely be people in your own community. Like Aaron from Aaron's Garden. He was a homeless 8-year-old who used the funds from selling plants to secure housing for his family. He has grown to be his own little micro influencer with over 30,000 followers. And now, of course, he's shifting away from the plant business, leaving a hole for an opportunity for businesses like ours to step in. And of course, please promote the shop small, shop local message. 50 to 60% of each dollar spent in the community stays in the community via taxes, salaries, suppliers, and the like. And as long as we're promoting those messages and we're partnering with this creator class, our businesses and our brands will only continue to grow, not just in our community, but with the customers that you are trying to build. Our next trend is called shoppertainment. The immediate crisis after COVID-19 was, of course, converting our workplaces, our schools, our businesses from brick and mortar to digital overnight. States entered various forms of lockdown and businesses deemed non-essential were closed. I know I don't need to tell most of you that. In a 6-week period, Zoom went from 10 million daily users to 300 million. Professional online events increased 1,100%, according to Eventbrite. And virtual events, they became better. I hope you all participated or joined in our great grow along that happened last March. It broke boundaries in the industry and brought together 40+ speakers from across the country to unite and educate this new customer. And it's not just the new creator class capitalizing on this shift from in-person to virtual. Brands started leveraging this social media, particularly social media checkout as well. And with new integrations like Shopify, it makes it so easy to match up your social media with a checkout. It's shoppertainment. It's this ability to entertain somebody through a video, to make them laugh, to give them some education, and tie it to making a purchase right then and there. This is happening big time already in China. AliExpress, which is Alibaba's online retail service, they already use this to blur the lines between that entertainment and to drive transactions. Right now in China, retail e-com sales are 11.6%. Do you know what they are in the United States, or what they're predicted to be at the end of 2021? 4.3%. So we have a long way to catch up to China. But to me, that just shows the potential in this shoppertainment and how much we can make a big impact. In fact, that e-commerce store that you opened last year, it's going to come in real handy in the coming years. But of course, the future is not going to all be online. We predict that the future is going to be hybrid. So in this case, your garden brands has the opportunity to interact with people online. You can provide seminars, classes, and information, but remember, all while still driving sales. Any piece of content that you put out there now, whether it be a photo or a video, should have a shopping component. It should not be a direct sale. Your content should still be educational. Your content should still be informational. But please be providing your customers with a way to purchase the product. Whether it be a simple shopping list, if that's all that your brand can provide, make the connection for them. But if you can provide a swipe up for them to buy, you better be doing it. Because when things sell out fast, people want it even more. So whether in a waiting room or the garden, customers are embracing the convenience of this shopping evolution. The future will be a hybrid of virtual and in-person. It will drive more productivity, engagement, and eventually success. This hybrid format works to reach the most amount of people. And organizations across the country, in and out of our industry, are looking at hybrid models in order to reach more people. The future is hybrid, and the future is shoppertainment. In 2022, it will be the year that we innovate personally, that we innovate in our careers, and importantly, we innovate at home. We all know that we've been stuck at home for the past 18 months and more. And Angie.com has reported that we're spending more on our homes too. Households spent 40% more this year on home improvements, with landscaping be the fourth biggest spend. 24% of people spent over $2,000. The other top three that people spent money on were painting, flooring, and their bathrooms. So we're home, but it's time to go back out into the world. So we've got this push and pull, this dichotomy between FOMO, you remember FOMO, the fear of missing out, and FOGO, this new experience that people are having, the fear of going out. So we've got this push and pull. So it's really positioning the upping of our insperience to create a better experience. So that's what this trend is all about, is about how people are revamping their indoors to make more comfortable spaces to welcome people into their homes, and more comfortable spaces for themselves, because we're here and we're planning on being here for much longer inside our homes, which is where I am recording from right now. So from renovating your outdoor space to updating your technology, it's the outdoors that is shining. It is a new place for people to make edits, make additions, and make improvements. And the first place that they're making these additions is the front yard. Front yards are the place that allow people to feel comfortable without crossing the threshold of your home. While they have been leading in popularity and boosting curb appeal for a long time now, your front yard now has become the home destination. In fact, social media mentions of front yard or front porch have reached a 5-year high. So it is the place to be. So revamping this space is like having a new room to enjoy. Some popular DIY projects that we predict in the coming future are painting your shutters and doors, hanging outdoor curtains, building window boxes and planters, and planting trees. People want container plants that not only look good, but are also low care. Container plantings are huge. This is one of the number one things that people are searching for, both in-store and online. And plants like the new Petite Knockout Rose are top stage. They both look good and are easy to care for. Some pricier updates that people are doing are, of course, adding front porches, adding furniture, and adding outdoor dining sets. And then we go to the backyard. The backyard is where people are creating zones. So everyone has options based on their comfort level. There are options for work and play. The first zone of many, there are many different kinds of zones that people are creating in their homes. And the first that we're seeing are kid zones. Whether you're adding trampolines, badmintons, nets, toys, you're putting them all in one area. So your kids have a concentrated place to play. A more sizable yard may fit a playhouse or a pool, if you can even get a pool these days. And smaller yards have teepees made out of bean poles, and they have sweet pea vines growing up them. If you're looking for plants for the kid zone, focus on large, lush, and lavish foliage that kids can play hide and seek in, and of course, rest from the sun. The next zone that we're looking at is called the work from home zone. In this zone, you want to position it as far away from the kid zone as possible, and you want to think about shelter and shade and privacy. In this case, DIY fences made out of wood or metal or pergolas made out of lattice work are really important to create that privacy. Plants also do double duty in creating privacy as well. Plant incredibly densely here. We're looking for varying levels of plants, from towering trees to ground covers. Plants and shrubs that create these living hedges help muffle the sounds from your kid zone, or maybe your neighbor who's decided to cut their grass that day when you had a Zoom meeting. And another zone that we're loving is the entertainment zone. So you still want to have people over, you still want to entertain, but you need dynamic seating. You need the ability to welcome in 4 couples, or you need the ability to welcome in a backyard barbecue or maybe a child's birthday party. And finally, we can't talk about decor and inspiration and experience without talking about indoor zoning. And we can't talk about the indoors without talking about houseplants. Whether it's creating a welcoming home office, greener interior spaces, or upping your feng shui, plants, as we all know, promote well-being and mental health. The big trend in indoor plants this year is nostalgia. We are looking at our indoor aesthetics, and what we are seeing across the board is the Instagram filter of the 70s. We are seeing interior decors be 70s-ified. We are seeing people choosing plants that were popular in the 70s. We're seeing spider plants, pothos, ficus, African violets, and ferns, and ferns, and ferns. We're seeing this push to go back to the 70s, and we love it. And of course, in all zones, smart home technology is number one. But whether it be lighting, watering, or sound, the smart home device industry has rose 19% year over year, and we only see that trend continuing to climb. So whether it be indoors or out, make sure you're helping people up their experience for a better experience. If you've read our 2021 Garden Trends Report, you know that we called 2021 the Great Reset. It was a time when we all got to pause and take stock in our lives, in our careers. We see the creator class booming in 2022 because many of those people who took stock wanted to make a change. And like any great reset, you need to start back at the beginning. And here in our case, when we look at our new customer, our new gardener, the beginning for them is basic knowledge and sometimes instant gratification, of course. But in order to keep this customer around for many, many years to come, it is our job as an industry. We want to do the marketing. We want to make sure that we educate these people. You, as garden brands and garden services, need to do the same. You need to figure out who this customer is, what kinds of things would inspire them to stick around and buy your products or use your services, shop your store, and bring them into the fold of becoming lifelong gardeners. How do we do that? Well, we've got to build a strong foundation, providing them with tools and information to succeed. So let's take a little look at who this customer is. We gained 18.3 million gardeners in 2020. That's new research out of the National Gardening Association survey. Initial estimate said 16 million. And according to McKinsey, the good news is 75% of these customers will keep gardening post-pandemic. Some other pandemic behaviors that McKinsey said were likely to stick around were, now listen up, garden centers, curbside pickup. 50% of people want to continue being able to do curbside pickup. 80% of people want to continue virtual healthcare visits. I am all for those three things continuing after the pandemic. A couple things people want to see return to pre-pandemic behaviors are entertainment and concerts and going out to restaurants and your kids going back to school. Yes, please, to both of those. I'd like those to happen pre-pandemic normalcy. So this customer, whom we called the backyard aficionado, and they were interested, if you remember, in our 2021 trends report, in edibles, in gardening for wildlife, and gardening for stress and mental health. Well, they're still interested in all of those things, but they're really, really interested in learning about the basic knowledge. So this group of people is a good mix between men and women, but when you look at the segment under 35, it's a majority men. Really interesting and different than our current customer. Intent to garden is most pronounced among this younger gardener, this under 35, gardeners with children, and gardeners of color. They have no or very little previous experience, and they're gardening in very small spaces. In fact, 78% of them believe you don't need a big outdoor area to garden. So we've got this new gardener, and they think gardening is cool, and they want to do it. In fact, a new research study said that 8 in 10 young people think gardening is so cool that more than half of them would rather go to a garden center than a nightclub. So just remember that when you're coming to work in the morning and you see your new customer, they're so excited to be there. Well, what are they buying? Well, we know that they're spending slightly less than the seasoned gardener, and we know that they're buying a disproportionate amount of the fundamentals, the beginner tools, the seeds, the soils, those very basic things that you all carry likely and that this customer needs. With this customer, edible gardening continues to soar, with seed starting and container gardening in raised beds being the most popular thing. And they're actually more interested in ornamental flower gardening than years past. This is a DIY generation. So whether that be because you can't hire a landscape contractor or any contractor for that matter, everyone is so busy, or because they just want to get their hands dirty, they have access to the information right there at their fingertips. It's true, they're a DIY generation. In fact, 2/3 of them tried a new gardening activity last year. So they're willing to try new things. They're willing to get their hands dirty. They just need someone to tell them how to do it. They're buying organic. They love organic products. That's the number one thing for them that they're interested in buying is organic, sustainable products, particularly local companies that are doing good for the planet as well. And we already mentioned that they want smart accessories. They want to be able to have accessories that work for them both when they're at home, on vacation, at work, all the time. They want to be able to check in on their garden just like they're checking in on their pets. They want to be able to see things from afar and control things from their phone. So, how do you set them up for success? Well, you need to bridge the gap. You need to take this customer and their basic knowledge, and you need to provide them with the products and then provide them with the education needed to succeed. One thing we suggest is designing grow your own kits. Whether you're a store or you're an online retailer, package and bundle items together. Put together a first-time tomato grower kit. Put together a first-time pollinator garden kit. Put together a first-time, spoiler alert for a future trend, bird lovers kit. Put together these first-timer kits that include products from all over your store. Plants, tools, fertilizers, seeds, supports, all the things that they need to succeed in one package. And give them a good deal. Even though this new customer is more willing to spend money on quality, they also love a deal. Highlight the easy to grow plants in your collection. I know lots of plants nowadays say that they're easy to grow, but you want to give them plants that have big reward for little effort. In this case, we've got our gardenia foolproof, real gold cup leucanthemum, and viburnum coppertop. Some of these plants are so easy and just bloom non-stop. What are the ones for your region that work the best? Also, give them recipes. We all know how to use a recipe. Some of us better than others, but we know how to use a recipe. We understand the concept. Create your own recipes. Is it the best way to prune a hydrangea? Is it the best way to plant your vegetable garden? Is it companion planting recipes? What is the recipe that's appropriate for your brand? Figure that out. Put it down on little cards and either have it for people at checkout or have them be available to download online, on social media. And remember, connect the products. Make sure you're connecting the dots for your customer. And I mentioned this before, but it's important to reiterate. Quality over quantity. It's not important to have dozens of examples of shovels. You need a high and a low. And if you really want, you can have a medium. But this new customer will likely choose the high version if you only give them two. When you provide us with too many choices, sometimes we just don't make a choice at all. And we want quality. This customer wants products that are made in the United States. They want quality products. They want products that are doing good for the environment. So we're around our items now all the time. And we no longer have the patience for a huge number of low quality items. So when you take a look at your store, when you take a look at your selection, do an assessment and try to weed out the ones that are not selling or are not the best quality and reduce. And finally, the thing this customer is most interested in is personalization. If you can offer them ways that they can create kits like that seating arrangement that I talked about before, where you can have modular seating arrangements that can grow or shrink with the customer. Same with raised beds. Same with plant support kits. I love the ones from Sea Bites that come in a bunch of different colors, but also can break down and easily store. Think about that when you're setting this customer up for success. And lastly, we need to educate them. That's perhaps the most important part of this trend. When you're bridging the gap, you're providing this customer with educational and funny, if it suits your brand, ways to connect with these gardeners. We've seen this done really well in the houseplant world, whether it be plants according to your horoscope or the feng shui design of houseplants. You can provide basic, accessible resources in short. 15 to 60 seconds short. And where do you post them? Well, Facebook and Instagram are still great. But experiment with some of these other platforms. Clubhouse, TikTok. There are millions and millions of users on TikTok. We don't see this platform going away anytime soon. And that's where your new customer is. So if you're bridging the gap, I suggest you give TikTok a try. And it's worth repeating because shoppertainment's going to be such a big trend that you make sure that you curate a selection for your shoppertainers. Maybe not everything that you sell is available online. Maybe not everything you sell is available to be shipped. But if you can curate a small selection that you can continually promote online for people to order, it'll give you some great data and great research. If I do this video with a product to sell, how well will that product sell? And I'd love to know how that does for you. Our next trend is called living television. And unless you've been living under a rock, you likely know that birding is soaring. Even people who loved the outdoors before the pandemic have discovered or rediscovered birding in new ways. Since March of 2020, sales of feed and feeders are soaring, and $2.2 billion is projected in sales for 2020. We're seeing this spike all across different sites and apps, and you're likely seeing the sales if you sell any birding in your own store. At the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, they have a crowdsourced app called eBird, and they are seeing sustained above average growth to the app. And year over year, their visits to their live bird cams have doubled. Audubon has a similar bird guide app, and their visits grew 81% from June of 2019 to June of 2020. Whether it was being home or discovering a new park, people are finding birding easy, inexpensive, and a way to engage while also disconnect. Plus, it's fun for all ages and levels. One of the wonderful things about birding is how we are seeing the people make connections between the birds in their backyard or their parks to plants. In 2020, an estimated 67.2 million households purchased at least one plant because they knew it benefited the bees, the butterflies, or the birds. And did you know that people with children are more likely to garden for wildlife than others? People's fascination with birds is only going to grow their interest in plants. And that's one of the reasons why the National Wildlife Federation launched the Garden for Wildlife collection of Keystone native plants. This collection of plants attracts insects that feed 96% of our backyard birds. So if you're looking for a resource, the Garden for Wildlife native plant collection is a great place to go. But if you have or already sell native plants, put together your own backyard birding collection. And don't forget trees. Caring for our big old trees is equally important as planting new ones to support the birds. Trees provide 3 out of 4 of the things that birds need to thrive: food, shelter, and places to raise their young. According to Jim Zwack at the Davy Tree Expert Company, 5 of his favorite trees for birds are the eastern redbud, the crabapple, the southern magnolia, the black gum, and a tulip tree. But of course, this is regional, so in your area, you'll want to find the best trees for your customers. So how do you capitalize on this trend in your area? Well, first, get the right gear. Did you know that avid birders always refer to binoculars as bins? Me neither, but they do. Other items in a first-timer kit include a weatherproof notebook and a field guide. We said it already, but it's worth repeating, that you need to put together collections that support the birds. If you sell native plants, put together a collection that will feed the birds in all 4 seasons. Remember plants that birds need the most in the winter. So plants that have seeds and berries are super important to have in that collection. And feature them in your stores in fall and winter. It will drive traffic to your store when traffic's normally not so high. And more importantly, it will educate your customers about what birds need the most. You can lead bird watching walks in your town, or just list the best bird watching sites. Host birding clubs, or ask a local birder to do a guest blog or a talk for your store, virtual or in person, or maybe hybrid. And of course, provide solutions for those birds in the winter, like food and feeders. We love those from Centurion. And if you're doing all of this, that birding customer who is just a budding birding customer now will be sure to come to your store and find plants and products that they love. Our next trend is called OnDemand Flowers. The act of giving or receiving flowers triggers those feel-good hormones in our body. Our appreciation for flowers and the healing powers that they offer is only growing. Flowers are the new hugs. You know, giving flowers to somebody is truly an amazing experience that increases the endorphins in our bodies and increases the endorphins in their bodies, just at a time when we need it the most. Catherine Ettman and her team at BU's School of Public Health have been studying the mental health effects of the pandemic since March 2020. Preliminary findings are not encouraging. No surprise, but they found that depression rates had more than tripled since the pandemic. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention survey from December 2020 found that 42% of Americans experience anxiety or depression, compared with 11% prior to the pandemic. So we need these hugs now more than ever. And people are getting them because the sales of fresh flowers are currently at an all-time high and are only predicted to grow. Whether it's because they're a pandemic personal pleasure or a symbol of a luxury lifestyle, we are seeing sales in the US in 2020 that reached $6.5 billion. And in 2021, sales are already up 9.8% over that, according to the Produce Marketing Association. 50% of sales are inside a grocery store. So as we go through this trend, I really want those of you who might be retailers to consider what you could do with a cut flower vendor or maybe pop-up shop inside your store. And who is shopping? This could be our backyard aficionado. This could be that new customer that you're looking to nurture, you're looking to educate, and you're looking to capture. Because according to that National Gardening Association survey, the reluctant gardener, who's not someone who considers themselves a gardener, spent second on cut flowers. They spent $71.51, slightly behind the garden master, the top at $78.81. So this is a person who's extremely interested in adding a little bit of luxury to their life, making themselves happier and increasing their health and wellness, whether it be for themselves or for a friend. And the popularity of flowers is for those reasons, but also because we are blowing up on TikTok. Cut flowers on TikTok are just exploding. And there's floral design classes and floral design shows everywhere, from the Big Flower Fight on Netflix and Full Bloom on HBO. Meet Sarah Campbell of Intrigue Designs and listen to her talk about the popularity of cut flowers.
I am Sarah Campbell of Intrigue Designs, and I manage a group of over 9,000 floral and event designers. You also may have seen me on Netflix's The Big Flower Fight. As I continue to lead the floral industry, I have seen some changes along the way. One of the best changes has been the increased excitement over cut flowers. We are seeing weddings and events that may have decreased in size, increasing in the overall scope of design, and they are on fire for flowers, which means these events are having more flowers than ever before. And then let's talk about the retail side. People have become accustomed this year to having fresh flowers. We've seen a massive shift and a massive increase in the amount of excitement people have in general for flowers. And this year, as they brought flowers into their homes to give them a bit of joy and a bit of beauty indoors, they have become accustomed to having these flowers nearby. So I expect we're going to continue to see this rise in sales for cut flowers throughout all of 2022.
We're even adorning ourselves in floral dresses, putting up floral wallpaper. Yes, the whole grand millennial, where millennials are decorating and dressing like grandmothers, it's a thing. And we can thank cut flowers for that. And growth will only continue. According to the Produce Marketing Association, 83% of retailers are optimistic that sales will grow in 2022. So what's the trend in cut flowers? Well, we're calling them sharing gardens. It's almost like a cut flower garden, but instead of cutting the flowers to enjoy for yourself, you cut the flowers to share with others. People like Stephanie Rose of Garden Therapy took this one to the limit this year. She grew gardens specifically to share with others. She gave out bouquets at garden centers, and she gave out bouquets with bulbs that the person could plant to create that bouquet to delivery workers. And these acts of kindness elicited tears. And if you hear her story, you will likely be a sobbing mess just like I was as well. And International Women's Day is a great opportunity for us to connect our products with an international holiday. This year, U.S. tulip growers, in conjunction with their European bulb suppliers, partnered with Petals for Hope to pass out 25,000 tulips to women on the front line. These people are making a difference in our lives, and you can celebrate International Women's Day with your brands and your stores as well by celebrating the powerful women in 2022 by giving cut flowers away. So You all likely know what the best flowers for sharing gardens are. We'll throw a quick few up on the screen so you can see what some of the best choices are. And this report sometimes can be used for people who don't know. Maybe it's consumers who are reading this and they want to build their own sharing garden. So some of our favorites for spring, of course, the fall planted bulbs that will bloom in spring, tulips and daffodil, but also don't forget about bleeding hearts and primrose and Siberian iris. But you'll need to plant for all seasons. So in summer, of course, we've got lilies and dahlias and glads, but think about things like sage and lavender and zinnia and larkspur. And edible flowers, as long as they're grown organically, like nasturtiums or violets or pansies, make great accents to herbal butters or cocktails or your bouquets. So if you want to offer flowers on demand in your own garden business, you are uniquely suited to be able to follow this trend really, really well. First, simply promote bulbs and annuals and perennials as cut flowers. Trees and shrubs can work beautifully as well. Host virtual classes on planting a sharing garden, floral design classes, or lessons in using edible flowers to decorate cocktails, desserts, salads, and appetizers. Promote locally grown flower bouquets on #FreshFlowerFridays. If you don't sell fresh flowers, you can invite a flower truck to your garden center. There was a beautiful partnership of John and Rachel Ackerman, owners of Blue Sky Farm in Minnesota, with their local Sailor's Greenhouse. Every week, Blue Sky Flower Farm would come in and deliver fresh bouquets and sell them to the customers of the greenhouse. What a beautiful partnership and a way to keep it local. Tap into that creator class we talked about at the beginning of the trends. They're there, they're in your communities, and they're ready to serve your customers. Give customers a chance to make their own bouquets. Maybe your garden center or your farm wants to start your own cutting garden. Have your customers come and make their own bouquets. Teach them classes and how to arrange flowers. You can plan guerrilla planting parties for birthdays or special occasions to cheer up our seniors. And guess what? This will all drive an increase, as we have seen at Sailor's Greenhouse, in the plants that make up these cut flowers. So if you're thinking, why would I sell cut flowers? This is not part of my business model. Well, the more interested people are in the flowers that make up their cut bouquets, the more likely they are to grow them in their own backyard. So it will really drive demand for your plants as well. This next trend we're calling wild curation. Did you know that the Venus flytrap is an endangered species? Yeah, it is. In fact, 1 in 5 of the world's plants, 4,400 in the US alone, are at the risk of extinction. And even still, new research from conservation biology shows that more than triple the number of plants have gone extinct in the US and Canada than previously thought. The last studies had 21 extinction events. This new paper shows 65. This is the first vigorous assessment of what we have lost. 7 of the plants are only known from collections at botanical gardens. Without collections, these plants would be extinct. Integral to a healthy planet, plants and their incredible diversity make life as we know it possible. So how do we ensure that these unicorn plants stick around for generations to come? Well, we need a renewed focus on plant conservation. Organizations such as the Center for Plant Conservation and Botanic Gardens Conservation International and gardens such as the Mount Cuba Center have led conservation efforts with research, fundraising, and the creation of their very own extinction gardens. While the most endangered specimens live at these sites, there are going to be more partnerships that are necessary to safeguard these unique species and conserve them in the wild. So there are things that can be done at home, and this is what Mount Cuba calls conservation by addition. It's these rare plant nerds who spent the pandemic accumulating, hoarding rare specimens, and houseplant tenders who are flexing on social media about the numbers that make up their collection. It's these folks who might be the next to bring into our conservation fold. These gardeners may be tempted to buy endangered or extinct plants. But education is key. These plants might not be for our backyard aficionado where we're bridging the gap for them. Not quite yet. You need to make sure that the people who are adopting these plants are making sure they know what they're getting into and they know how to care for them, because ensuring that these plants live year after year is of the utmost importance. Small actions that people take at home can make a big impact. And the number one action people can take is planting natives. We can't urge you enough. And this conservation by addition method says you don't need to convert your entire garden to natives. You can do one at a time. If you want to just replace the Japanese barberry, you can just do that. Do one thing at a time, removing and replacing. And that addition will add up to a lot if we all do it. And I love the Center for Plant Conservation's Rare Plant Finder. You can put in your zip code or you can put in a plant and find which plants near you are at risk, which have conservationists working to safeguard their existence, and which ones you can help grow. But it's not just dependent on us at home. Our garden brands can make a big difference here too. Education is also key. We need to educate our customers about how their activities can help or harm plants by what they're putting on their lawns, spraying their plants with, the plants that they're actually adding to their garden, whether they be invasive or not. Education is the biggest component in this strive to save these extinct or endangered plants. Meet Amy Highland of Mount Cuba, one of the researchers involved in the research about extinct plants.
Plants that are near extinction often don't survive without human intervention. A lot of times it takes the concerted effort of a group of people coming together to ensure the continuation of these species. Most of the time that happens with professional groups like botanic gardens and that kind of thing, but we are very much trying to bring in the general public more to these efforts and teach people how they can contribute to conservation gardens as well.
People love clubs. Think about your pollinator clubs. Think about how popular your pollinator clubs are. Well, can you start an extinction club? Can you start a club of people who support these kinds of plants? You can also position yourself as the source for your county's local seed bank. You're saving and conserving the seeds of these endangered plants. Make sure you're educating your customers about knowing where their plants come from and setting yourself up as that trusted resource of getting only the proper plants and that they're not being harvested to be resold, like that Venus flytrap. Of course, we're practicing sustainability and we're communicating our methods of sustainability. And one of my favorite is an adoption program. Your garden brand or your garden center can hold an adoption program. The Jardín Botánico in Mexico City is currently doing this as we speak, and they have some amazing programs at hand. People have adopted 40 different Mexican endangered plants which have been propagated in the botanical garden. These people are then registered as adoptive parents, they receive a certificate of adoption, and then they also make the commitment that they'll report back to the botanical garden about the plant's status. They check in with each other to see how it's going. This is such a cool program, gets people really engaged and really involved in having their plant babies and that they're doing something for climate and for sustainability as well. And we know that this is a big, big cause for this new gardener and especially for these rare plant collectors. They're interested in making a difference and making a change, and you can help them. And if you're a grower, if you don't sell plants to consumers, you can still make a difference. Start growing really limited and small batch collections of these. We know from the research in our creator class, things that are limited and small batch fly off the shelves. So try it. Try dedicating resources to just one of these endangered plants and see how it goes. It's the awareness and the observation over time that will help people spot these endangered plants and spot things in the wild that might need our help and protection to make changes. And our last trend, the one that everybody's always excited about that we skipped last year because it did not seem right to be talking about the color of the year in the middle of a pandemic. And lo and behold, Pantone predicts gray and yellow, but we didn't just feel like it was right. So this year, we've latched on to a color that just symbolizes rebirth. It symbolizes innovation, and it is no more crisis. And that color is green. And you know, we were stagnant. We were stagnant over the past year. Our culture, our creativity, our style, but now we're ready to be reborn and we're ready to innovate. And there's no color that gets at that light green. That vibrant green reminds us of renewal, of nature. And the hue in particular that we're loving is clover. It's a little bit lucky and a little bit beautiful, and it works in all kinds of capacities. So why clover? Well, it symbolizes nature. It's optimistic, it's rejuvenating, it's invigorating, it's upbeat. Everyone is craving it. The head of color at WGSN, Jenny Clark, says that nature will continue to be a huge driver in the years to come. Not only does it feel comforting, but it also connects us to the outdoors, something that we have long been wanting to connect with. Clover's been spotted on the runway at Dries Van Noten, in vases, scalloped planters. At Jonathan Adler, this bright shade of clover attracts the younger generations. It makes us happy. And yes, we already talked about the grand millennials. They're wearing these soft floral prints and clovers in their true cottagecore style. So how do you use green? Well, I wouldn't suggest painting your entire apartment like I did when I lived in New York City. That was more of a shade of neon green, but you know, one of the big trends that are happening is enticing employees to come back to the office. People are doing it by giving them Teslas to drive for the day, letting them use the helicopter to come to work, giving them monetary incentives. But you know what they really want? They want the companionship of the office. Maybe not every day though, but they really want biophilic design. We've talked about this kind of design in our trends for years, but it's really coming back this year. And you're seeing companies completely redo their offices to be more green, not just more sustainable, but actually have more plants. And there are plenty of ways to work this found in nature shade into your collections, whether it be in your pots, whether it be in your pillows, your accessories, or go big and install an entire backdrop of green. The green on green of houseplants or your displays in your stores would look really, really cool and on trend. No matter which way you go, it's a reminder after months of chill that warmer days are on the horizon. Thank you so much for joining us today. I had so much fun presenting these trends to you. I had even more fun working on them with our team. It takes a village, and I want to shout out the Garden Media Group team who is integral in putting these together, in researching, in developing, in writing, and in designing. This is one of the most proud I am of these trends reports that we have ever put together. We did it from afar, but we were able to channel our collective energy and put something together that was great for you. So thanks again for all your support, and I hope to see you sometime soon.